All right.
All right, all right. There
Paul
she
cut
is.
you off because you were being ridiculous.
I want to hear the answer to that, man.
No, he heard
rally
you
going
say,
on next Friday. What's up with that?
no, he heard you say I was hanging out with somebody and it was pure madness. So he said, no. We won't be playing that.
But on Juneteenth, y'all, on Juneteenth, in the very city where Black Wall Street was bombed to smithereens, and hundreds of African Americans were murdered in cold blood. In this
why not?
climate?
Why not do it then? Yes, why not?
I want to, before we get to that.
Okay.
Before we get to that, right? Because you got to give people a chance to join the conversation, Vic. You just coming in hot. You got to give them that.
Both guns blazing. Both guns blazing.
So I want to make sure though, and we can definitely talk about that and what's going on with that. But I want to also talk about, and actually this goes perfectly with what I wanted to talk about today, and that is unchecked power.
Okay.
And what that looks like. And what that looks like, I guess we can say, quote unquote, on both sides, because as we know, America is currently broken up into two factions, as it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely want to talk about unchecked power and what that looks like today. But Vic, we can go back to your original thing. We wait for people to join the conversation. I think that and I actually want to wait for a few more people to get in here, Vic, before we talk about, because I want to hear some opinions. I want people to weigh in on. So before we get to that, and well, I can only see myself. Can we cut to a camera angle where I can see everybody? Thank you. Mike, what are you doing?
I'm doing work. We got a water giveaway. We got a water giveaway tomorrow, and I'm at the U-Haul store trying to follow directions. And I don't know, man. I may not be able to get my truck. I don't know what's going on. U-Haul's closed.
That's because U-Haul closes at 5:00.
Obviously, but I know this one. I'm on Miller Road, but the one on anyway, I ain't gonna worry about it. I'll figure it out. Anyway, let's keep talking. I got you. I can multitask. I'm helping out the community, and I'm helping out the community.
There we go. That's what's up.
You're not supposed to drive and hold your camera at the same time.
I was walking, Candace. I was walking. Come on.
But you just got back in your car. So
come on. Hey, come on, phone Nazi. You're a phone Nazi, aren't you?
That's amazing. You see how when you try to help someone out, try to save their life, they call you names? People don't want help. They don't want help.
You sound like I'm just trying to help y'all Negroes on Juneteenth.
What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose?
Well, in this case, your life. If you're driving in trying to look at a video, it's definitely not the same thing. It's definitely not the same thing.
No doubt.
Yes, definitely not. So,
but no. So I want to talk about Vic. We can go ahead and get in on what you asked about the fact that apparently there's going to be a rally held on Juneteenth and in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That seems like some clear signaling to a base right there.
Absolutely.
That seems like a clear, I've thrown down the gauntlet. This is where I stand on this.
That's it.
Okay, why are we debating this? Why are we debating this?
We're not debating it.
Why are we even talking? Listen, if it's not clear to anybody yet, this is his Ronald Reagan move. Ronald Reagan went to Mississippi.
True story. True story.
And proclaimed his run for the presidency.
Where the three civil rights workers were murdered, right, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, he did.
Swerner, and Goodman.
And Goodman, that's right. And he went. He's going to go to Tulsa and rub it in. The one of the most well-known massacres of black people in this lifetime, in somebody else's lifetime, 100 years ago. This is almost to the day of the anniversary that we celebrate.
Right? Absolutely.
And he's going to rub it in. But now, let me say this. I'm sure he's going to twist it, a la Candace Owens style.
There you go.
He's going to say, I'm doing it for black people. And there are going to be some black people that think,
in the audience,
he's doing this for me.
In the audience, Mike. They're going to be in the audience.
They're going to be in the back.
African Americans.
Trump signs and all of that nonsense.
Absolutely.
They're going to be in the background with Trump Trump signs.
There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Those are gonna be the paid ones that are set there. Those won't be his actual black supporters. He does have actual black supporters.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
those that will be sitting behind him with the signs will be the paid ones that have been told what to say and how to hold the sign and when to react. Let's be clear. Those will be the plans.
Let me say this to you all. Let me pose a question to both of y'all, Candace and Mike, because I remember hearing some black celebrity types. I forget the guy's name. What was the hip hop mogul's name? Whose brother was in Run DMC? Russell Simmons.
Oh yeah, Russell Simmons.
This was several months ago, and he was asked a question about Donald Trump because they had a working relationship because they're both New Yorkers, right? And then he said, "This is not the Donald Trump that I know," and that was the sentiment of not only him but certain other black folks who had a connection, a working relationship with Donald Trump. What do y'all think about that?
There actually have been quite a few black celebrities that have been around him who have said that is not how he behaved, that he didn't act like that. So that they Paul, I want to see everybody in the camera. So that they're saying that this is not what they're used to when dealing with him, that he didn't act like that he didn't show any signs of that. And so
well, wait a minute. See, this is one of those, hey, he likes me. I'm one of his Negroes.
Is that what it is?
That's what this is. Listen, he had already been convicted of
by the Nixon administration.
Racial discrimination.
Right.
Right.
He had
Yep.
already did the thing with the Central Park Five. Right? I don't get into that kind of nonsense. Russell is a great guy. I love him to death. But Russell has his personal relationship with a couple white folks, and that's fine. Listen, Donald Trump probably was nice to him. He was nice to Omarosa till he didn't need her anymore. Right? Matt's always nice to some black folk.
Candace, what do you think? What do you say, Candace? Because you were making a point about certain celebrities saying the same thing that Russell Simmons was saying.
I mean, not only that, but I would have to question, even with what seems to be his waning intelligence. Because I asked my mother, because she used to watch The Apprentice. I never watched The Apprentice because that whole you're fired and all of that didn't appeal to me. I didn't think that was cute. But my mother used to watch it. And I would ask her, I said, okay, so he was on this show for all of these years. I was like, did he seem to lack basic intelligence then? And my mom was saying, no, he didn't. He didn't act like that at all. Someone else pointed out, though, it could have been because he was in his element. But I would question whether or not it was truly his element, because he's gone bankrupt several times. But anyway, but the point is, it seems that the consistent story would be that his behavior now is not behavior that people have known of him. And so someone else said that he is getting a little older in age, and they question whether it was senility. I'll tell you this. One of the things, let me tell you. One of the things about my grandmother that was most shocking is that once she had Alzheimer's and her mental health began to decline, we learned some things about her, some things that flew out of her mouth that we were like, what in the world? Who was this? Or where did this come from? Or this is shocking. And so it kind of begs the question of a few things. of, you know, well, one, all that time was he just pretending and now he can be himself?
There you
Two,
go.
wait,
There
well,
you go.
two, is there a mental health decline that's going on as well?
Right.
And which means that the real him is coming out in that mental health decline. Or, well, I mean, I guess I'm just trying to figure out if everybody is saying they had a different experience with him. If people that have watched The Apprentice are saying that it didn't seem as though he was as unintelligent as he appears every time he gets in front of a camera now, I'm just trying to figure out, was there a decline or was it edited in a way that made it seem like, and they gave him a few words?
There you go. Listen, we forget this is all scripted. Donald Trump can run the script. He was only in front of people a couple times at a couple places at a time. He would get on. He had a script. Listen. Even now, when I see him in front of people, he's playing a role. This is a role for him. This is TV theater for him, and he's just saying what he thinks he needs to say to get across for his constituency, which is the racist white male in this country. That's who he's pandering to. And the Apprentice, he was pandering to those TV people. And when he was dealing with Russell Simmons, he was pandering to black folks. And we see him pandering all the time. That Donald Trump has no soul. He panders to the highest dollar.
Okay.
He has no original thoughts. He panders to the highest dollar. You ever hear him talk? And I'm not one to say he's senile and whatever. I'm not going to put those things on him because I'm not a medical doctor. This guy has all his faculties. He knows what he's doing. We can't excuse racism. This is how racists react. Because racism is stupid, that's why it sounds stupid. Let's get this straight. Racism is stupid. You can't explain it.
I just want to be clear, is I was giving many different perspectives that I've heard.
I got you. No, listen, I totally agree with you. And we're on point. And I'm just adding to the log of fire that you just put on. Listen, racism is stupid. Candace Owens sounds stupid when she talks. When these racists start talking, you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. I'm black. I know better than that. And have you ever listened to racists talking? You're like, I can beat down that argument in 3 sentences. Right? And so it sounds stupid, but they don't realize it because they're stupid themselves. Donald Trump has never been smart. He's never been the guy who you would go to understand things. His sister's a lawyer or a judge, for God's sake. He's the dumb one in the family. And he's been playing a role, and he's playing a role as president, or what he thinks president should be. That's what he's doing.
Right. And QB said that this is a cop-out. He is not senile. He was raised to be what he is, period. And QB, I just want to, again, drive home the point. I'm not saying that he's senile. I'm saying that there are several different perspectives, and I'm giving you all the perspectives that people have thrown out there.
I'm with you, QB. I'm with you. Look, I think what happens a lot of times is when white people are involved, we look for an excuse. Why did he do it? Why are they going to church?
I don't think. No, stop it. I don't think that's just when. I don't think that. Because no. Bring it back.
I'm saying this is because when you will wreck yourself trying to figure out why this is evil. It is for self-service. That's what racism is all about. It is about putting down the other. Do we try to explain why does this guy hit his wife? It's for power. Why does he beat up his? Why do people bully folks? Because it's about power. Racism is about power. It's about submission of other folks. I look at Fox News now. All of a sudden, they hate protests. Before, they love protests. They love taking it to the government. They hated police, the FBI, the CIA, whoever was a progenitor of authority. Now, they hate the people who say, let's protest. And this is the psychoses behind racism. Mike. If you want to start being in diagnosis mode.
Since we're looking at this from a psychological standpoint, I would add to that, y'all, that racism is a pathology, right? As a science, pathology studies the disease of a human body, right? So from a mental, psychological, and a spiritual standpoint, racism is absurd. It's sheer absurdity. It does not make any sense. And the very idea historically that people have attached to what race is a false social construction. This idea that you can separate people into separate, distinct categories, racial categories, is a misnomer. It doesn't even exist. So we're
and QB said that the media has floated the idea that he is slipping mentally, and that let me get that whole thing. That he's a dim-witted racist. I want to say again, because I don't know if QB and Mike are missing the point of the fact that I'm giving you different
perspectives.
Different perspectives from people that have had these conversations. So that's for example. I don't wait. I don't want anybody to think or believe for 1 second that I, Candace, think he's anything other than what he is.
But here's another point. Here's another point, y'all, concerning racism. Racism is also a system. It's a system of ideas, and it has become so baked into and so embedded in the American psychology that it's part and parcel with American culture, right? So we have to go back 500 years to unmind.
There you go. There you go.
Right? It has infiltrated every discipline in education, in religion, in sociology, all these different areas, politics, you name it, medicine and so forth, right? This is the nature of the beast that we're wrestling with.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, you hit the nail on the head. We can go back when you hear racists talk. I've heard racists say that the blacks in America are the better off blacks in the world because no black folks have contributed to anything to society. You live in high society now at the behest of the wonderful white people that are in the world, you know. And so, but when you start picking it apart and talking about Egypt, or you go further back in history, the whole thing crumbles, right? Because this is silly pathology. And Mr. Big, you talked about it. The system is a flawed system. It's a failed system. It does not hold up under its own weight, but it's being held up under brutality. Under of who we are. When Derek Chauvin put his knee on Brother Floyd's neck, it was a sense of power. It wasn't about anything else. You guys over there looking with that camera, I don't care. I got power, and I'm going to control this. I think, Candace, I'm going to send you a funny video. And there's a guy. It happened to be a white guy because black folks can't do this now. And he's going around a police officer and he's asking for their information and badge numbers and everything, telling him I don't know whose phone that is. But anyway, so he's saying crazy stuff to him. And he presents himself as an authority figure. They kind of back down, right? So it becomes a lesson in understanding the psychoses even around how white folks view other white people. That's why you don't see a Derek Chauvin putting his neck on a white guy's neck and doing this. Listen, I want to ask people this question. Where's the video? Because black cops interact with white people all the time, right? In Detroit, in St. Louis, in Chicago. Where are the videos of these racist blacks who are putting their knees or shooting white folks? You can't do it because there's the
repercussion. There's a repercussion. There's a repercussion.
Oh, we see that. Absolutely. Even in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, a black police officer was in an alley. He shot a white woman, killed her.
He's in jail.
He's in prison. Exactly.
Right. Even now, let me say this too, and I don't want to get off topic too much, but even some of these cops that are being getting mugshot, more of them are black cops, right? Even now,
it's a system.
With the ones that just that were just fired in Atlanta, absolutely.
Black cops, right? So we see even now there's an onus of attacking the black male or the blacks in the system.
Okay, so a couple things. One, I'm going to read this comment. QB said the issue with discussions like these, there's zero value in presenting different positions on things we know to be fact. There's no conversation to be had on Trump's objective stupidity. I disagree with that 10,000%, because the thing is, one of the things you better know is the dog whistle or the the arguments that they're trying to put out there to keep their base snowed in, if you will, to those people who don't think for themselves. So what I'm saying to you is these conversations are very necessary because you need to be able to debunk and pick apart and talk to them, talk about them. So I think that offering these different positions, I think it's needed, it's necessary. And so I'm going to offer a different position. Not saying that I agree with the position, but you need to know what other people are trying to excuse. You need to know that.
Let me say this, brother QB, and you're right on point. And in a certain way, you say, listen, we don't want to talk about that kind of stuff because it's something we shouldn't have to keep bringing up, right? But I realize this is why Jesse Jackson says, "Up with hope, down with dope." This is why he repeats it over and over again. I've been to many Jesse Jackson rallies. I met him in person. And he says the same stuff over and over again. You know why? Because there's somebody who hasn't heard that message yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's always somebody who hasn't heard the message. And this is why we have to be on point when we talk as Black folks. We have to do that stuff. We have to keep on the message. Candace, you know I message you all the time. You have to say something to somebody 225 times before they never forget it again in their life. And even if you told your kids something 100 times, you still got 125 more to go. That's why commercials, we still hear them over and over again. That's why I know how to say 2 all beef patties, but the you don't know about that. That's a Gen Xer thing. But I recognize it because I've heard it so much as a commercial. Where's the beef? All these things are interjected into our mind. So we have to say things, Brother QB, over and over again because somebody hasn't heard it, number one. And number two, that we never forget. And Jewish brothers and sisters, bless them, they don't let you forget. They say it over and over. They teach this thing. This is a philosophy that they make sure that you don't forget, that you don't ever forget. And we should never forget. I don't care whether racist is stupid. He could be a Harvard graduate. He could be whatever. He's still a racist supporting a system that is dumb and stupid, that does not hold up.
But Mike, if I can interject a point here,
sure.
The word system is the key word. It's the optimal word here, right? Because we're dealing with systems. That's another reason why it's important for us to have this conversation, because this is the system, right? I would tend to agree with Michelle Alexander's assessment of racial caste as it relates to law enforcement, the penal system, and these different systems that are a part of the legal framework of American society. She argues that we are dealing with a racial caste system. And the question is this: what is a racial caste system? A racial caste system, loosely defined, is a racial system of hierarchy. It's a system of racial hierarchy that is rigidly enforced, and oftentimes it's enforced with violence, right? And I think you kind of alluded to that. And also, here's another point that she's making. She was saying that due to the success of the civil rights movement, racial caste, which is adept at making changes and repositioning itself, she says that the overall form of Jim Crow, which was more expansive, right, repositioned itself within the system of mass incarceration. So it was a virulent, violent form of racial hierarchy. It's a caste system, and that's what we saw with the treatment of that brother. Look, one more point. Another story that's gaining ground, and you all are aware of this, is the sister Breonna, what's her name? Breonna Thompson?
Breonna Taylor.
Taylor, thank you. In Louisville.
Yes.
The cops had a no-knock warrant, went to the wrong house. The police force had already, I guess, arrested or apprehended the person, right? This woman, 27 years old, was an EMT sister, right? And she was asleep in her bed. They broke in the house and shot her, 8 times to death? And the cops are still free, but it's under investigation.
Well, look, I mean, can I piggyback on that? Listen, I think you're right on point. The system is the problem, but let's talk about what this system does. See, you talked about it earlier, Professor Vic. It is a system based on a social construct that is flawed, right? The social construct does not work. So you have to reinforce it with violence, with systematic processes and things like that. So it manifests itself in a criminal justice system. This is why during the crack wars of the 80s, I call them the crack wars, it was a war on black people to incarcerate them, get them felonies, keep them out of jobs for the next 50 years.
Absolutely.
So there are people my age who went to prison when I was a teenager, who are just getting out of jail. I know them. They're people I know personally who get good jobs, who lost dozens of years of their life. We call them football scores. They got football scores for life because of this system. But I want to talk about how the superiority complex, how this complex keeps going. I think if you lied all your life and said that you're separate, that white people aren't a part of black people, they don't come out of Africa, and there's something separate, you have to maintain that. You can only maintain it with a lie, right? And so if you maintain this thing with a lie, how do you maintain it? It is a flawed system. White people are scared they will do no more white people. I think we need to address that too. They fear this aspect of white people disappearing, and quote unquote. And people get scared when they think they no longer will exist. I'm worried over and over now that you'll see the Russians and people from Italy and other folks who think they are white. And I use that. I don't know what whiteness means. In some aspects, I don't know what blackness means. We'll talk about that. I want us to address what happens as whites become the minority. They're already screaming, and they have the majority. They're whining and snowflaking, and every category that's good, they're in the top category. Every category that's bad, they're on the bottom of the list. They have everything, and they still act like they're on the bottom. What happens when they really become the minority?
I think that some of that is rooted in fear that some of the barbaric behavior and things that they've done, some of that is rooted in fear that they will then become the slaves that they try to create, that they will then become the incarcerated or the poor or the dejected. All of the situations that they try to create, a lot of that is rooted in now, that they will reap what they sown. A lot of that is fear of if I'm not in control and they no longer fear me, all of the things that I've done, will I have to answer for them? Will they? Because let's be clear, in a lot of instances, and they've shown this, the ones who believe or operate under this belief, they've shown that if given the opportunity, they would do it again. They would take advantage of it. And so in their minds, most people think you think like them. So they think, if I have an opportunity to get revenge, I would take the opportunity to get revenge, and I would do to them 20 times worse what they've done to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Perfect point, Candace. Listen. All pigs think every woman is all robbers think every person is a mark. If you are a money guy who loves money, you only look at people who got money. So yeah, you're right. They're looking through their own eyes and being flawed in their processes. And so, I mean, I'm not saying we don't have this on the left per se. I don't consider myself a left-wing leftist, but we have problems now. People are saying, let's get rid of the police and defund the police. And I got a problem with that kind of language right off the bat too. Although it is, it's throwing a brick at the system, which is up in a system that is oppressive. And I get that theory, but we do have to be careful with going totally on the opposite end.
So
right?
I think that what's going on there, and there have been a lot of little thought pieces, a lot of little editorials, explanations on what they're saying when they say defund the police. I think a lot of people are saying, okay, you all are getting caught up in the word defund. So I don't know if maybe it would make people feel better if they were saying reallocate the money or something. I don't know what would make people feel better to hear. Because I think that when people hear defund the police, they mean get rid of it all together, get rid of them all together, not have them at all. And I would hope that no one is calling for there just to not be any police. I think that we've got to be careful with our extremes.
I want to pose a question to y'all about that, Candace. That's an excellent point, because we all know that American policing's origins dates back to the slave patrols, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So here's my point. Are those people who say that we need to eradicate the system and build it back up anew? Are they on point? Because given the fact that the slave patrols and American policing as we know it are connected one to another.
That's right.
So this is the thing, and I've said it time and time again. I am for, as far as America is concerned, tear down, build it back up so that it works for everybody. I'm with that as America is concerned, period. My thing is, how do we do that? You know what I'm saying? And how do we do that in a way that works for, everyone? I think that.
I think we lost Candace.
Yeah.
Did we lose Candace?
Candace is gone. Well, listen, I can't remember the guy's name right now. I'm looking at his face in my mind. His name is Frank. Frank is a wordsmith. Frank, I can't think of his last name anyway, but he's a wordsmith for Republicans. Okay. He puts words together, phraseology. That's why you heard the words, phrases, death panels, and things like that. It came out of the Republican movement. So when we have a movement, we have a movement. Let me finish up real quick. When we have a movement, we need to have proper phraseology and wording. People only taking two-syllable phrases. The words have to fit together properly, and they have to. We should have a police patriot act. That's what we should call it. The police patriot act.
I want to read,
but it means something totally different. It means people police.
I want to read a couple of these comments. Angela said, hello, exactly. The question was asked to Morgan Freeman, how do we get rid of racism? He answered, we stopped talking about it. He does not want to be considered Black. He just wants to be considered an American. Well, while that sounds good, that is not reality, because our biggest fear is that is what the conception is of us in the white man's head. So how can we really stop racism? I'm going to read other comments after that, but I want to stop here on this comment. So here's the thing, right?
Right.
One, you do not stop racism by not talking about it. I feel like for decades, Black people tried to go along with that. Let's not talk about it. Let's just behave. Let's just do whatever. And I'm not saying that he's saying that, but what I'm saying is that method of not talking about it has already been tried and it has gotten you nowhere. I think the only way that you can really deal with it is you come at it full on, you come at it directly. You will never get rid of racism because you cannot control people's hearts. What you can do is have the perception that racism no longer exists because you begin to regulate their behavior and their pocketbooks because that's what they understand. You force people to respect you. There's no, they're going to give you respect because their heart's not right. So don't ever think for 2 seconds that racism is just going to be gone and eradicated forever, because that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is they're going to take their behinds back in that closet and be ashamed to say it out loud like they were all this time. And then you're just going to have to wait for it to come to the head again. But what I'm saying is the only thing that people understand, because you are not in control of their hearts, is they understand consequences and loss of money. That's what they understand.
Absolutely.
So that's how you have to deal. The only way to deal with racism is to attach consequences to it, and deeply rooted consequences that they will feel and it will hurt them. Because you cannot do anything about another person's heart. And whatever's in their heart is going to come out of it. So you got to make them know that, let them know that the little evil, nasty, trifling heart that you have will get you punished.
Absolutely.
That's how you deal with it.
Absolutely.
We see this with gay brothers and sisters. Look, gay brothers and sisters ain't out here burning down nothing. They just said there are consequences. If you want to come out here and talk bad about gay brothers and sisters, you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your livelihood. You're going to lose other things. So they make sure that happens. And we as Black folks have never really been able to exert consequences on anybody in any case, right? And so that's where we are, and we should be able to do that. Now, don't get me wrong. There was a time in the 70s when you was white and you said something wrong to Black person, you might get your face bashed in if you said the N-word, right? There was a time. It was a big time. And then the 80s came and the crack wars came, and if you were Black and you hit somebody, you immediately got a felony, and so they changed the law, so you can't do that.
I think that in 2020, though, I will say in 2020, one of the things I see returning is that now people are getting slapped for saying crazy stuff, but they're getting slapped by black people and other white people who are like, you sound stupid.
Right.
So I think you're getting beat up all across
People
the
get
board.
slapped, Candace.
Well, right,
People
the consequences are everything, right, Candace? The consequences, you're right on point. You got to have some consequences.
But let me tell you that we as black people should know firsthand that consequences are everything, because that was one of the ways that we were quote unquote trained in this country. There's a consequence for you trying to be free. There's a consequence for you trying to live in this neighborhood. There's a consequence for you trying to sell drugs that everybody else can sell, that you've got the United States government funneling in crack cocaine and everything else, but you better not sell that weed. There's a consequence. So one thing is for sure is that people understand what consequences mean, whether it's a fair terminology or not. When used, the bottom line is they control things with consequences. So again, I cannot control your heart. I'm actually not even interested in controlling your heart. You want to have a trifling heart, that's fine, but you better keep it to yourself, and you better keep these systems fair. There's nothing I can do about your heart. That's your problem. That's your cross to bear. You've got an issue. But what I'm gonna tell you right now is I'm not gonna carry the burden of your issue. I'm not doing it.
Absolutely.
I totally agree.
Folks, if I can add a point here real quick here. Just a couple minutes ago, you guys were talking about what can we do to eradicate or address racism effectively. What about the idea of education as well? Because I'm hearing stories now where some school districts are trying to ban the teaching of world history or African-American history or Chicano studies and things of that nature. What about that as well in terms of education?
I think you have a good point, because another thing that I've seen a lot of is you have a lot of these young white people who will flat out say, I was never taught any of that. I didn't know any of that happened. Or you got some of them who, they know that certain racist acts and behavior happens, right? But in their mind, they try to excuse it away as little things. So in their mind, and I'm not saying all of them don't know. Don't think that for 2 seconds, I don't believe that they don't have those. Some of them don't have those pictures of their great granddaddy standing with a black person hanging in the background. I know you got them pictures. So don't think I'm naive enough to believe that. But I do believe there is a segment of the population where you had, I'll say from north and south. I'll kind of use that the spirit of that. So you had those people in the north that while they didn't necessarily agree with slavery, they didn't try to stop it. So they went on with their lives. And so they managed to make themselves believe, I don't see this, I'm not doing this, so this doesn't exist. So I think you have some of their descendants who are out now saying, well, we didn't know all about that. And you got to believe the same way they're not teaching black kids black history in school, they're definitely not teaching white kids black history in school, nor are they teaching the atrocities, the full-on atrocities of what they've done. Because anytime you got, back, what was it, 2-3 years ago, you had a publishing company try to peddle some books in Texas, talking about that they came over here, that they were workers. And then like, what? That they were workers who came over here to help with agriculture. Is that what happened?
That's right.
And Candace Owens will still espouse that kind of nonsense.
I'm glad you brought her up. I am glad you brought her up. Let me tell you why I'm glad you brought her up. You ready? Because apparently in 2008, little Miss Candace lived in Connecticut with her parents. Not this Candace. Lived in Connecticut with her parents. And apparently in 2008, little Miss Candace Owens, who does not like the NAACP, who despises them, she had to call the NAACP because she sat her little behind out of school for 6 weeks because some white boys were torturing her, leaving her voicemails, calling her all kind of racial slurs, dogging her out. She was so distraught she couldn't go to school for 6 weeks. Had to call the NAACP. Her family even settled with the school for like $30,000 some odd dollars. Yes. And now, fast forward to 2020, she got the nerve to be propped up talking about that same NAACP that helped her get her life back in order after she was called all kind of racial slurs and was essentially chased out of school by white people. So let me tell you, it's a couple things going on here with little Miss Candace. One, it's self-hate. Through and through. Self-hate through and through. And I'm not saying that she doesn't love that white man that she's married to. She could very well love him, but I also think he represents a station in life and a safety for her, or a false safety, a false safety. Because I gotta wonder what kind of what kind of what's the word, Stockholm syndrome homegirl is dealing with. The fact that the very people that she went ahead and married, she's trying to find some acceptance here. Because it was so traumatic for her that they called her all these names and all these racial slurs to the point where she's sitting up here saying racism doesn't exist. Well, not only did she experience it firsthand, but she turned around and she fought it, got some money, got it monetized money on her behalf because of it.
Now that's amazing from a psychological standpoint. So what would you call that? What would y'all call that?
She's an opportunist.
Stockholm.
She's an opportunist.
Mike
she's an opportunist.
Also.
Listen. Back in the day, there were a few people, we call them bed wenches. Is that a word I can say online? I don't know if I can say that word.
Okay. Well,
I don't know. This is the psychology behind that. She's an opportunist. She's trying to do the best she can for the little she can do. And you know, I don't want to even assign it to pathology. She's an opportunist just like Donald Trump is, just on the other end. Omarosa was an opportunist too. But Candace is just a new person that they're using now. I saw the interview with Harris Faulkner, who's the only black woman prominently on Fox News. They got to only have one at a time. She's the token. And Harris Faulkner still understands her place and her station. So she really wouldn't ask any tough questions of Donald Trump. Now, he realizes that he's using her. Normally, she wouldn't even get the interview with Donald Trump. He'd give it to some of his other top tier people. But he gets it to her because he's trying to trick black folks into thinking.
The optics. The optics.
The optics is everything. Listen, I'm going to finally get somebody black something. And let me say this too. I'm okay with, let's talk about optics. I'm okay with taking down the Confederate battle flag. I'm okay with getting rid of statues and all that. But I don't care about any of that if there's no policy behind it. Like Candace,
absolutely.
There's no consequences behind it. Don't start talking to me about taking down statues.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Let's talk about policy.
Literally the only thing, and you know I keep saying this, that's going to make any of this matter, all of these showy gestures, all this kente cloth, all this kneeling, all that other stuff. You can save that for somebody else. Right. And that's fine. That's cute that you want to be out here marching. But the reality is the reason that the people are out here marching and protesting is because they feel like they are the powerless ones on the outside. You, my friend, are on the inside with the ability to change and affect laws, with the ability to rewrite these policies, with the ability to fix these procedures and these protocols. You are on the inside. I don't need you out here kneeling in no kente cloth. You with me? Go change that policy. Go change that policy. I'm not done. Hold up. I don't need you out here Cupid shuffling with me. I don't need you parading with me. I don't need you doing any of that. I need you in there. If you're really with me, changing the stuff you have the power to change and affecting it in that way. I don't need all these gestures. I don't care. Because the thing is, where were all of these gestures? Because let me tell you something. Before 2-3 weeks ago, before George Floyd was murdered, all of y'all were in power and all of this stuff was a problem. You are doing what you have been forced to do. So don't come out here acting like you're my friend. We're not friends. Because you've been in a position to make some change and you didn't. So don't come out here pretending that we're friends. Let's just call it what it is. There's an uprising. You're worried you're going to lose your station or your position in life. So you're willing to change some things, or at least appear to change some things because of this uprising. So instead of coming out here giving me some kind of appearance, go in there and actually change. Because I don't need your friendship. Because it wasn't there before now, so I don't want it now. Just go in there and change.
So hold on, this comes full circle though, Candace. The only way they're going to change it if you change who the people are who running things, right? And so you got to have some power behind your vote, which in Georgia, in Wisconsin, we see that they're trying to take that right now. People are in line for 6 hours trying to vote in Georgia, and don't think it won't happen in November.
No doubt.
That's the symbolism, the Cupid shuffling and all that stuff. You know, people celebrate any kind of way they want. That's about symbolism. America's about symbolism. I'm okay with it to a certain extent if it's supposed to.
But this is the thing that happens, right? This is the thing. Let me tell you why I'm not okay with symbolism. Because because you come out here and you Cupid shuffling with me at 5, and then at 8 o'clock when that curfew kick in, you throwing rubber bullets at me. What does that mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, I don't need none of that, because you weren't doing all of that 2-3 weeks before the world got on your head about how you treat them. And so now, don't come out here. And I think that Cuomo had a good point on his show when he said that don't for one second think these politicians really care about you. They care about losing their job and their position.
Exactly.
So if that's the case, force them to do what you want them to do, because you see they're going to do it now that the attention is on them. And that's really all I care about. I don't care about these streaming services putting up these black movies. I don't care about these streaming services putting Black Lives Matter and We Stand With You. I don't care about none of that. What did your diversity look like? I don't care nothing about, Starbucks all of a sudden now that people are on their head talk about you can wear whatever you want to wear. I don't care about any of that. Again, I can't control your heart, but since I have your attention and you have the world watching you, we're going to actually change these policies. We're going to hold your feet to the fire to make sure that you implement them. I don't need your friendship because it wasn't there all this time.
But Candace, how do you get them to change policy?
What do you mean? How about I'm done shuffling with you? We gonna sit down and we gonna write it together. And you gonna put it in there. And we gonna enact it. That's
pressure. It's pressure from the people, y'all. The people have the power, and they recognize that.
Thank you, Ben.
The people have awoken, right?
Now
is the time to strike while the iron is hot, man.
So you're missing my point.
Mike. You're a former basketball player. You know the importance of defense. From a defensive perspective, the people have the power. The people are putting the full court press on these jokers, man. On law enforcement and these politicians and the government and whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
So let me go back to my question, because y'all not listening to me. How do you make it happen? See, we can talk all day, but if you got Candace Owens in the room and they pull her in the room and say they got somebody black, the policy is not going to be right.
Oh, I hear you.
As we have people out here in the background fighting, clawing, making politicians scared, we have to make sure we have a strategy of who's going to be in the room.
No doubt.
Going to be, what our agenda is going to be. And so I'm saying to us as black folks, as white allies, as people who have a caring sense of how America should be rebuilt, to get rid of systematic racism, and we should all be one. I don't want Clarence Thomas in the room.
No, I feel you. I feel you.
Tim Wise in the room, right? And Clarence Thomas happens to be black, but Tim Wise
absolutely.
I'd rather have him in the room than Clarence Thomas.
But Mike, doesn't it begin with the committee of one? No, Mike, in the beginning, it begins with ourselves, with yourself, with myself, with Candace, and then we get together with people of like minds and like consciousness and so forth. And then we address what our issues are, and then we take it either to our representatives and put pressure on them, or we directly go straight to the source ourselves.
All right, and so if we are going to them saying defund police, and we don't even have a strategy of what it looks like,
that's my point. That's my point. I agree. We have to have a strategy. No question about that. No doubt about that. We have to have a strategy. We have to have a studied view. We have to have a philosophy. We have to have a school of thought, and we have to have a way to implement our concerns and our issues. No doubt. But
this is the thing. You keep saying that, and I keep telling you. You go down, you sit directly with them, write out that policy, and make them inactive. What do you mean? How do we change?
Candace, check this out. We might have to take a page from the Panther Party, or even those militia jokers who came down to the state assembly with their AR-14s. Write the policy.
Right. At the end of the day, we have to be able to say, here's the people that I choose. I don't want Texas in the room. I want Tim White. I don't want Candace Owens in the room. I want Candace Machette. And so we have to be the ones who decide who goes into the room. Let me speak to this. There's a lot of people who represent Black Lives Matter I don't want in the room represent me. You understand me?
I agree.
I feel you.
All right. So we have to be sitting down right now, writing the policy outside, and then, or they need to come to us and say, what do you want as a policy? And the meeting happens outside where we are, or we have to go and say, This is the policy. Dang on it. This is what it's going to be.
So here's the thing, right? And somebody had a good point of they've had 40 years to craft an agenda. They've had well over 40 years to craft an agenda. But here's the thing with that. They being black people. Here's the thing with that.
There's always a time for an agenda. Always.
Here's the thing with that, right? So, and I told Vic that was kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Oh man, somebody said that Clarence Thomas, this mayor, and Brian Larks will never be Black Lives Matter ever. Hey, Shardy, thank you for joining us. That wasn't Shardy, that was somebody else's comment, but I was telling you what that. But they said that Clarence Thomas, this mayor, and Brian Larks will never be Black Lives Matter ever. So, but this is the thing about when I told Vic that I wanted to talk about unchecked power, because even as we move forward, as we're saying the Black Lives Matter and all that, because I did look that up. There have been billions of dollars, at least $1 billion, that has been given to the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right. 1 billion?
Yes,
1 billion.
Yes,
that goes back to Mike's point last week of where's this money going, who's allocating it, where are they saying who's in charge of this money.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that you've got to be careful of, because come on now, all your skin folk ain't your kin folk.
True. There you go.
And time again, there have been plants put in movement time and time again. So what I keep saying is, what I keep saying is, come on, get your hand out my pocket. What I keep saying time and time again is that these leaders, I think it's crazy as ever to say, because we're doing this, you can't check this person right now. No, I'm gonna check you right now, because I don't want you to keep thinking as we move on down the road.
There you go.
You're gonna keep acting like this.
That's
You're
right.
not.
But so let me say, I'm gonna give you an equation here, Candace, and I'm gonna bring it back into the plant where I work at. I've seen people like a black woman will get up and the supervisor says something to her crazy, and she's screaming and hollering, "You better get out of my face now!" Blah 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 blah. Next thing you know, he's making her job harder. He's doing things to her, and she actually ends up suffering, going out on sick leave under mental distress.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times when they come to me, I give them a look. I state the policy.
Yeah.
I talk about the policy.
Okay.
But that's why.
Well, let me finish. I talk about how he's violating the policy, and then they leave me the heck alone. Half the time they talk to me crazy that they got to get their mind right before they come to me with that nonsense.
I didn't say, but the thing that you don't understand is just because I said the word check, just because I said the word check doesn't mean I said go up and talk to nobody crazy. But you can pause someone's behavior. Mike, you just gave an example of how you pause their behavior. That's you checking them with policy. That's you checking them with policy.
But what I'm saying, I don't want people to think screaming and hollering or busting out windows.
Who said that though? Who said that?
Well, this is what I'm saying. I want to clarify what you're saying for those people in the back who may not understand exactly what you're saying. They may think you're talking about checking people. I'm going to check somebody right now, and they get in front of me, I'm checking that fool, and they will get their brains blown out.
But that's what you like. It's the same thing. You check them with policy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that we say this. There's a lot of young black men who are listening to what we say. And I don't want any black man to think things have changed and I can scream and holler at the police nowadays if I can. Look, black men have died after Brother Floyd. Black men will continue to die if we don't get a hold of how we should.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So I'm saying to you, all these little showy gestures don't mean nothing, because it's cool because it's making people, and I don't mean showy gestures on the part of protesters. I mean those who are in charge and can make a difference coming out being with you. Because again, we've had this problem longer than 3 weeks, and ain't none of these leaders only a week old into their profession. They're well over 3 weeks old into their profession. So my thing is, don't come to me telling me you care about a policy now when we both know you didn't, because you've been in position to change it. So my thing is, now that you're listening and I have and we've got pressure on you, just go change the policy. Because I'm clear there ain't no friendship here.
So let me give me an example.
No friendship here.
Let's keep the main thing, right?
Right.
Give an example. See, and so let me say this. How does that look, Candace? Give an example of what policies, who's going to change it, how are they going to change it? Give me an example of how that looks.
Are you okay? So I think that even when you look at, we'll even just go for police. They can easily change their policy to the fact that when you see an officer,
no chokeholds, for instance.
that actually was the no-knock warrants have been banned in Louisville now.
Yeah.
So that is an example. Absolutely. That is an example of immediate change of a policy.
Hold on.
The same thing with
the mayor put it in. The mayor put it in place, but it isn't in the city charter. There's not a police review commission coming in, but there's no chokehold. You can still put your knee on his head. There's no chokehold, but he can still shoot you now. See, what happens is the police say, listen, all right, I ain't gonna chokehold you. Now if you put your hands up, I'm just gonna shoot you. And so I'm gonna say this today. Had George Floyd been shot in the street, we wouldn't be having this problem. We wouldn't be talking about it right now. The onus of seeing him, the life choked out of him, or his knee on him, that's what made us respond. If it wasn't a shooting, I think people would have went all kind of different ways with it. So what police officers are going to do now is just shoot you, and it won't be any discussion. And people will get.
But that's what I'm saying, though. But this is the thing. That's why you take absolute advantage of the opportunity you have before you now, so that they even think about shooting you twice.
To write policy regarding that as well. To write policy regarding shooting.
So what I'm saying is,
how does that even occur, right?
We just have a mayor in Louisville's edict. Is that the policy in Flint? Is that the policy for the state of Michigan?
I
is
get
that
what
the
you're
policy
saying.
for the state police? Is that the policy?
But that's the point, Mike. That's the point he's making, is that you make this overall nationwide. That's the point.
How are we doing that, Candace? How are we going about doing that? Nobody's has a system in place to make sure.
The Congressional Black Caucus, but it functions on all levels: the local level, the county level, the state level, and the federal level. You have to work each level.
You keep saying, how do we do this? Nobody's doing whatever.
It's not like we don't know the pressure points.
But Mike, if I said to you several times,
I keep saying it over.
You keep saying, how do we do this? You keep saying, how do we do this? And I keep saying, you go right then and there and you write the policy with them and quit Cupid shuffling. You mad because I don't want the sibling. I don't want it. I want it changed right then and there.
Candace, how do you get it past Mitch McConnell? I'll wait.
Mitch McConnell gotta go.
All right, then hold on. No, I'm speaking my language.
There you go. That's the answer. That's the answer. You got to out-organize Mitch.
We have to
organize him.
Well, the problem is,
organize him out of
office. Is the problem. The Republican Senate is the problem.
We get
not
it.
The Democrats.
We understand. Absolutely.
Mitch McConnell, everybody.
But Mike, is that not the nature of the beast? That's the nature of the beast. So we have to understand the art of warfare from a political standpoint and implement those tactics.
Exactly. All right. So Black Lives Matter should be going into Kentucky, registering every black person and every white person, and they should be getting Mike McConnell to be our number one enemy.
Absolutely.
And he's not, because we're arguing about Kente Claus and what Nancy Pelosi did instead of concentrating on what Mitch McConnell is going to block.
Mike, if you don't get out of here, if you don't think I didn't see what you just did, if you don't get out of here with that slide in, I'm a lifelong Democrat and I love my party, don't attack them. Don't try to play me. Don't ever try to play my intelligence, Mike. I saw what you just did there. Let me tell you something. Your beloved Dems are getting their feet held to the fire too, because they've been in power longer than 2 weeks as well. They could have been doing that. They could have been out registering. They could have been out working with the Black Lives Matter movement. Mike, don't ever try to pull that again.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Because if you ask me, if that's the case, a lot of them Dems who claim they can't do nothing, since you can't do nothing, you can be voted out too.
There you go. That's it.
Mike, don't ever try to pull that again.
I have no problem with that. Candace, listen, my quarrel is not with you.
It's we the people, right, Candace? It's we the people. It starts and ends with the people.
My quarrel is not with that. I agree with you on that. But what I'm saying is this: we cannot take our eye off the prize. Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham,
Yeah.
all those Republicans who run the Senate, they have to go. Otherwise, we can put all the Democrats' feet to the fire that we want. They could all be voting our way. We're still going to lose if we don't get rid of the people in the Senate. And then let's talk about
guys, we're at 6 o'clock. You planning on going over?
Yeah. What? Come on.
All right, let's take it to 6:30 and we'll call it done.
All right, cool. Let's talk about locally. Let's talk about locally. We got politicians, we got Republicans running locally that we should be getting rid of. Who's the Republicans who run the state Senate right now and the state House in Michigan? We should be blowing them.
If Mike don't do nothing else, Mike is gonna take the opportunity to make sure that he makes them Dems look good and make it seem like, boy, oh boy, Mike, it's amazing how you pull focus on this conversation. Mike,
all right, so let me make sure I got this right.
I'm not saying that. Wait, hold up.
Go ahead.
I'm not saying that I don't agree with you about the removing of the problem. I am wholeheartedly 1,000% in agreement with you about the removing of the problem. But what you will not sit up here and do is act like a lot of them Dems are not complicit because of their silence or because of the fact that they weren't trying to move or really move until some fire was put under them. If we're going to hold people accountable, hold them all accountable, Mike. Hold them all accountable.
True.
I'm not saying, by saying this, I'm not saying I'm going to go in there. I'm absolutely not going to go vote for Trump. But what I'm not going to do is give you a pass and act like you ain't been in control. You haven't had some sort of power or voice past these 3 weeks.
True.
You've had it before now.
True.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend, or is that what we're talking about?
Mike, how about this? Mike, how about this?
How about that?
Now you gonna make me pull out Dr. King and what he said about the moderate. Don't make me pull out Dr. King and what he said about the moderate. Because as far as I'm concerned, your little silent voice is just as bad as their loud voice. You're just as complicit.
True.
No, that's not true. Let me say this.
Okay.
Mike, yes, it is true.
What I look like saying, what if I see somebody slapping you, beating you down and everything else, but I'm standing back saying this is wrong. I would never do that. I would never hit him. I would never slap him. While watching them slap you.
That's right. So what I'm saying is this. If you have a person who says, listen, I'm going to record what Derek Chauvin is doing, and I hold that recording to myself, or I keep it to myself, or I go turn it in, even though I didn't stop him from killing him. That's not the same thing.
That's not the same thing as being that's not the same thing as being a police officer standing there watching another police officer. I am in the authority to stop you. What I am saying to you is there is a difference. There is a difference between an everyday resident or citizen who cannot do something and another lawmaker who has the voice, who is on the inside and can tell these everyday residents and citizens what's going on to stop. There's two completely different things there. There's two completely different things. If I sit back and know that something is wrong and I say nothing until it gets to a head to where everybody else notices, then I am a problem too.
Okay.
Preach.
Let me say this.
Candace,
I'll put it just in this term. What you're doing is equivalent to kicking the dog.
I'm not. Oh my God, Mike. Let me tell you what you're not gonna do. I'm not gonna not criticize them because y'all so scared of Trump. There's a problem overall. I'm not saying go vote for Trump. I'm telling people go vote against him, get him out, get Mitch McConnell out, get all of them out. What I'm saying at the same time is all of your symbolism, you can keep it. Replace your symbolism with actual policy and procedure, because you've been sitting there, you've been doing this with us, you've been knowing this is going on. That's all I'm saying.
This is America.
You know what? You know what's funny, Vic? Vic, you want to know what's funny? Is I literally made it. Listen. I literally made it. Hold on, Mike. Vic, I literally made it an entire hour without going here with Mike. We get to 6:03 and Mike Price. I made a whole hour.
Listen, let me say this. America is built on symbolism, right? That's why we have the power field. That's why people have the Confederate
I'm
flag.
through with you, Mike.
You say the symbolism doesn't matter. That's why there's a lady in the middle of the harbor with
You want to know what? You represent. And Mike, I love you to death. I absolutely love you. You are my big brother. You and I argue on and off the screen. But let me tell you something. Some of your views represent the problem. Talk about something. America, we live on symbolism. We thrive on this. And I think it's a generational thing, Mike. My generation don't need the symbolism. We don't want it. We don't care. Just change your policy. Quit dogging us out.
What?
Quit dogging us out.
Are you kidding me?
Are you telling me millennials?
Y'all more built on symbolism than anybody. It's got to go through.
That's not true. That's not true.
What?
That's not true.
Let me give you an example. I'm gonna bring this down to a different level. Who's the hottest female rapper right now? Megan Thee Stallion.
Megan Thee Stallion. Okay.
And she used to be a former porn star. And you tell me her symbolism doesn't matter? What she's showing to people doesn't matter? Millennials are eating it up. And she ain't saying nothing in the ways of rapping words. She ain't not MC Light or other rappers.
Can I ask you a question? Stop playing though. Quit acting like. First of all, I don't know that Megan Thee Stallion used to be a porn star. That's not something I know. And even if she did, that's the personal choice that she decided to do with her life. Second of all, quit acting like your generation didn't have raunchy rappers. Because I love me some Lil' Kim. So quit playing with me.
You're proving my point. America loves symbolism.
Okay, but what I'm saying to you is, you know what else America loves besides symbolism? America loves racism. We're tired of that too. So we're tired of symbolism too. We're tired of it.
So hold on. Symbolism and racism are the pillars of America. And so why don't you acknowledge both of them? That's all I'm saying.
If I just told you, hold up. But if I just told you, Vic, he just said symbolism and racism are the pillars of America. Those were his words. If I just told you 30 minutes ago, I am down with deconstructing all of that, what would make you think I would? You weren't listening. You weren't listening.
Well, let me say this. What are you going to replace it with? I'd like to know that. I'll wait.
Why do you need to? This is the crazy part, though. Like, I feel like you're holding so tightly to some beliefs. It almost feel like you're still trying to assimilate, Mike. I'm a little worried about you right now. I'm a little worried about you right now.
Definitely. I'm a house Negro. Sure I am. Yes, Candace. I'm Massachusetts. Me, dark-skinned brother. Me, darkest man on the don't treat me great. I
Let me tell you how I know, Vic, that Mike is talking nonsense, right? You want to know, Vic? Yeah. Because the minute Mike starts talking and it doesn't make sense, his phone starts to mess up. Because even his phone gets sick of what he's talking about. We can't hear you.
It's not like you're talking through a megaphone, Mike. Like you're talking to a tunnel.
Yeah. Hey, Vic.
Yeah, Vic, what's up?
Interject some thoughts here because I literally went a whole hour without arguing with Mike. And then
once
at 6:03,
debated, man, y'all.
So Vic,
hard act to follow, man.
Vic, go ahead and interject some wisdom, Vic. What do you have for this conversation?
Okay, here's the age-old question, right? That Dr. King is known for stating. Which way do we go from here, y'all? Since we've been talking about the debacle that America is in right now, politically, socially, racially, economically, etc. Where do we go now? What do we do now? How do we defeat this guy? How do we throw this
according to Mike, according to Mike, the first way to defeat him is that we go Cupid shuffle in a parade and hug people in kente clubs. So that's the first thing that we do, according to Mike. right? And then the second thing that we do, according to Mike, is that we don't hold anybody inside of our party responsible, only the outside party. And the third thing that we do, according to Mike, after we've done those two things that get us nowhere, we then go back to normal life, according to Mike.
Paul, I got to work that out with you, Mike. I mean, you still sound like you're talking to a turtle, man.
Hey, I'm so happy that his phone is messing up because I'm going to take all the shots in the world right now.
Oh my goodness!
Mike, call back in. Bring it back.
There we go.
Come on!
Call back in so we can get another connection.
Paul, don't help him out. Don't help him out. Okay, so Vic, according to these comments, Vic, somebody said that Victor and Mike deconstruct the word symbolism in Flint. Okay, so I want y'all to know that Victor is actually, yes, Victor is registered to vote. For people that are asking, is Vic registered to vote? Vic is absolutely a voter.
Absolutely.
Vic,
absolutely.
And if y'all knew about Vic, like I know about Vic, then you wouldn't even question Vic's skin in the game. Trust me, Vic has put rubber to road. So that's why one day we're going to have to give y'all some extensive background on Vic to let you know. Yeah, Vic is about that life. He really is.
Right.
Well,
listen. All right, so y'all hear me now? Can I talk? Can I live? Can I live?
No, somebody wants you to break down the symbolism in the city of Flint.
All right, so let me break down symbolism. See,
no, wait. Let me read the question for you again. It's two questions for you, okay? One was, it said, Victor and Mike deconstruct the word symbolism in Flint. And then the other question was, why did the suburban sheriff have a parade and not a protest?
All right, so that's about symbolism too, right? So that's about symbolism.
Yeah,
so
it is.
All right, so when we have a person who has a understanding of how to deal with particular people, he understood what a lot of people are just understanding. Man, I just can't come out here and fight this thing. I've got to assimilate, get in the middle of it, and do something different. And he's been celebrated for it. That is the symbolism that America is all about.
What I heard you say was, he did the tried and true method.
So let me finish this thing. See, what we're failing to realize this is too. A lot of these protests have diversified bodies.
Absolutely.
A lot of folks are in these protests doing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find a way to bring in allies from different ways, different backgrounds.
So can I just venture to say this though?
Hold on, Candace, hold on. Now I've been talking. You've been talking. Let me say this.
Mike, you talking on the show.
Warren Hill said it best. I added MF so you ignorant fools hear me. So sometimes you have to Cupid shuffle to bring in the people that like to dance. Sometimes you have to
No, I'm not letting you do that one, but finish your point.
At your church today, people don't dress up in a three-piece suit every day because
I'm not letting you get away with that one.
You gotta get people in there to vote. You gotta talk about from every angle. You have to cover it. So I'm not talking about not holding Democrats' feet to the fire. Of course you hold their feet to the fire. But because we're in that system, we can do that every day. I'm talking about,
can we? Because every time we try to, like, you deflect every time.
They talked about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, getting rid of everything. What are we going to rebuild it with? When we're at the end of the day, when down, what are we rebuild it with? When Detroit is burned down, what are we rebuild it with?
Okay, so a couple things here.
Talk about it from there.
Couple things here. First of all, Vic and his landline is killing me.
You know these calls now, man.
Second of all, Mike.
So hold on. Let me say this to you.
No, hold up. You made your point. Hold on, you made your point.
What I'm talking about is, we said this before. I don't want to sit here and talk about only somebody who's in our camp who we understand, and you're not talking about the enemy with on the outside of the camp throwing bricks and boulders. Yeah, I can argue with you as family, and I can argue with you, Candace.
Wait, I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out who that applies to because we've spent a good 2 years. We spent a good 2 years calling out Trump and the Republican Party. So now that you got this public choice,
we don't have any policy behind it. We don't. The only reason we're even talking about Trump in these since now is because we threw the bums out. We threw out the Republicans in the legislative body. But what about the Senate? We haven't thrown the Republicans out there. And we got to talk about concentrating on how America.
But here's my question then. Here's my question. If you
are you going to change the Constitution tomorrow?
Here's
are
my
you going to change the Supreme Court tomorrow?
Here's my question. Here's my question. Let me talk now. Here's my question. Because you keep acting as if these problems are only 2 to 3 weeks old. Let me make it clear. A lot of those politicians that are there, minus the new class that they don't seem to like. A lot of them have been there 30 and 40 years on both sides.
Do you know why? Why have they been there? Because you millennials won't go vote. You millennials won't go vote.
Wait. That ain't my point. Yeah, go vote, whatever, but that ain't my point right now. Go vote. But that's not my point. My point is you keep acting like these people, and I gotta just read next week. I'm gonna read the whole Dr. King letter from Birmingham Jail to you, because I promise you killing me because you sounded like. Wait a minute, you sounded like those other preachers that was telling him to wait. Well, we waiting on Mike. Then you sound like wait. Then you keep defending the white moderate that ain't had your back, all because they wear blue with you. Mike, come on now. I need you, Mike.
I'm not telling you wait.
I need you to get some. I need you to get some allegiance to self before party for a second here.
Candace,
another thing, though. Another thing. You keep saying. You keep saying it like the Republicans have been the only problem. I got a problem with Democrats that have sat there for 30, 40 years with them.
Can I interject the point? Can I interject the point real quick?
Go ahead, Vic.
Let me make this point here. To Candace's point, from a historical standpoint, right? Remember, it was Lyndon Johnson, who was the president at the time, who passed a piece of historic legislation, the Voting Rights Act, right? He turned to someone and said that they're going to be voting Democrat for the next 40 years.
That's right.
To Candace's point, we got to check both of them. We got to check both the Republicans and the Democrats.
First of all, we got to check.
They both have their agendas. They both have their agendas. And look, let me finish, Mike. Let me finish. And I'm not. What I'm saying here about Lyndon Johnson is he was being an opportunist. I give him credit for recognizing the gravity of the moment, right? He knew what he had to do. He saw the winds of change. He saw the liberation movement in this country and the other liberation movements across the world, in Central America, South America, Africa, Asia, etc., right? So he knew that it was time out for business as usual, right? But he did say, Mike, these jokers will be voting Democrat for the next 40 years. To Candace's point, we still have to hold their feet to the fire, because no matter whether the person is a Democrat or the Republican, I'm talking about office holders, they still have their own ulterior motives as well.
And these problems didn't just start.
Exactly.
Well, listen. All right, so let me address this. I recognize the problems didn't start, but you talked about the problem. Because we have not motivated and got ourselves to the polls, this is why we keep losing. And so when you want to talk about,
you got to inspire the people, Mike. Some of these people are not inspirational. And I get it that it's not just about inspiration, but some of these people ain't good at exciting and engendering inspiration to the masses.
Hey, Vic, you just accidentally made Mike's. You just accidentally made Mike's symbolism argument, Vic. You just accidentally made his argument.
It makes sense. Listen, you got that symbolism. That's why Trump is known. We don't carry things. Listen, if you're talking about right now, this is why Nancy Pelosi and them are kneeling, so you don't throw them out, right? This is why Trump is going to Tulsa, so he won't get thrown out by the people who he understands believe in symbolism about building a wall and all these other phrases that he comes up with. So we got to remember ourselves that we have to have symbolism on our side too, and our symbolism has to be something that motivates people. President Obama, moving forward, changing things, change, and all these other words that he used. That was symbolism. It works for millennials, and it gets you to the polls.
What about Sleepy Joe? How Sleepy Joe did inspire people?
Democrats are as bad as the other person outside your house. Listen, you and I can be Candace, but if somebody start shooting up our house outside, they become the enemy. And
so basically, hold up. So if I'm listening to Mike in his arcade belief, then my only option is, and this is how I gotta live my life. My only option is either the people that shooting me up or the people watching me get shot. Those are my only options according to Mike. Not shoot back at the people that shoot me and then call out the people that are watching me get shot.
No, that's not.
I'm not an either or kind of gal. You're not my friend.
That's not a problem. Are you telling me? All right, let me ask you a question. Are you telling me that black Democrats and other people aren't helping you? All right. What did he say?
Mike, I promise you, you are no different from the Republicans, the way you try to twist and manipulate words. I promise you, you're no different. It's all the same. The only difference is you wear blue. But the way you try to twist and manipulate, it ain't no joke. Let me read some of these comments real quick. Because Carl has entered the chat for you, Mike. Your buddy Carl is here. Carl is here. Carl said, Mike, you keep losing because you are too far left off the cliff. He also said some other stuff about his president being the greatest president since Lincoln. Bada said Camden, New Jersey eliminated the police force years ago. Will Genesee County Sheriff and State Police accept a deep Flint community evaluation? And then he also said that not a protest, but parade insulted them deeply. Step and fetch it.
I agree. That's the wrong
I'm not going to get into that because I think, once again, I don't know who these individuals are sometimes. And you got to sometimes make sure that you don't alienate people who really are going to go out and make change, right?
Right.
So some of these people that are talking, they just rather bust windows open and be anarchists. I'm not dealing with the anarchists who want to say, let's just throw all the baby with the bathwater, do whatever, and you don't have anything to come behind that. What are you going to do? What is the policy? What is the agenda for black folks? And so what are you doing for black folks?
Okay, but this is the thing. Mike, you keep saying what is the agenda? I'm pretty sure, Paul, can you put it on the screen so we can see everybody? I'm pretty sure the agenda for black folks ain't Cupid shuffling. It ain't parading. If we don't know nothing else, we know it ain't those two things. It ain't kente cloth and kneeling. Like, come on.
Well, like I said again, this brings back to symbolism, Candace. You got to bring people in. You got to say it 215
but
times.
This is the
you got to say it over and over.
That symbolism that I just named, or everything that I just named. You keep talking about symbolism, but everything that I just named has been off-putting to people. Right or wrong, everything that I just named has been off-putting. It wasn't the symbolism that brought you together. It was the symbolism that infuriated you, like they trying to pat you on the head. That wasn't the symbolism that connected you.
What do you mean off-putting? What do you mean off-putting? I don't know. Give me an example of what you're talking about, off-putting.
I just gave you 3. I'm not going over it again. I just gave you 3. I just gave you 3.
All right. So let me say this. We have to be careful. Like I heard people talk about cultural appropriation, right? Now I don't want to get into that.
I didn't say nothing about cultural appropriation. I didn't say nothing about cultural appropriation.
Let me finish. Let's talk about off-putting. It's not off-putting for somebody to finally recognize, or at least
are they recognizing it, or are they playing you?
All right, so you gonna let me you gonna cut me off before I get done, or you gonna let me talk?
No, as far as I'm concerned, you've been finished. You've been done.
Hey, this is why you get nowhere. You don't want to hear the whole message. I'm trying to explain it to get the job done, and you don't want to listen because you think you know it all already.
Mike, I have literally heard your message for an hour and 30 minutes. I got it.
So you break it down like this, real simple. What we have to do, like every year on March 17th, we celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I see black folks dressing up in their green Kelly outfits or whatever, and they love to be St. Patrick's Day. They go out drinking and everything like a Irish brother or sister. Listen, I have no problem with white folks putting on kente cloth and paying homage to my heritage in whatever way that means. Now, I don't even know what culturally means sometimes, because what is culture in America if you black?
I promise you, if Paul, one day we're gonna have to get these graphics to where when Mike is talking, we can put up the Sandman from the Apollo, sweep him on off. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Yeah. Did that offend you? I'm trying to understand that. Did that offend you? How did that offend you? How did that offend you? How did that offend you?
Can't take cloth before now. Quit playing. You pandering. You don't care about what's going on. Quit playing with me. Mike, stop playing with me. Where was your kneeling? Where were you? When were you kneeling before now? Huh? You weren't trying to parade with me before now. I'm confused. Wait a minute. With me before now. I'm not gonna say all, because one of the things that I will say is, come on now.
We don't know. Listen, I'm negotiating contracts many times. And so when you have
basically, Mike is open to negotiating with racists. Go ahead.
Yes, we live with racists. You better be able to negotiate with racists and tell them, here's what the rules are. Here's what we will accept and what we won't accept. Are you going to sit here to tell me that you're going to stop America from being racist? You can't.
What did I say at the top of this show, Vic? What did I say at the top of this show about your heart? And I can't control if your races are not in your heart.
You can't legislate love, but you sure check your behavior, though, right? With laws and policies.
Somebody, exactly, that's what I'm saying. Exactly, what's the policy? So if somebody's sitting there saying, all right, listen, you got me on my knee, I'm paying homage to it, then you say, hey, here's what the rules are now. Here's what the new rules are. Since you're on your knee, you got the kente cloth out, we got you. We won. We don't know how to win as black
folks. But this is the question. This is the question that I have, though. This is the thing that I'm going to say. Mike, this makes no sense. Let me tell you why what you just said makes no sense. Because the people that are in the kente cloth on their knees are the people you keep claiming are already with you. So what difference is that gonna make for me if the people that you claim are already with us are on their knees? How do you have them by anything? If they already ain't doing nothing, then being in the kente cloth on their knees means what, Mike?
So wait. All right, let me tell you I got something right. Are they doing something or they ain't doing nothing? Which one is it? They're not doing nothing. They're not doing anything.
No, Mike. I was responding to your point. You're saying the people on their knees in the kente cloth. Hold up, Vic. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the people that were on their knees in the kente cloth are the people that he capped for big. That he put his cape on and he say, "Leave my Dems alone." Right? Right. But then they're the same people that Mike is claiming he ain't got no power. They ain't got no power because the Republicans is holding him up. So if the people that are on their knees,
I didn't say they had the power.
Yes, you did. Hold up.
One minute cue. You got 1 minute.
Vic, Mike, hold up. I gotta end this point. So Vic, if Mike is saying the people that are on their knees in the kente cloth are the ones who've been held up by the Republicans, then what good does it do, Mike, to say I got you on my knees, give me this? If they couldn't give it to you while they were standing, how can they give it to you while they were kneeling? Huh?
I said again, I said that was the problem. I didn't say they didn't have any power.
I'm done.
I'm done. When you have one, I said every negotiation.
You get to my goodness.
The next level, you get to the next level. This is chess, not chess. Don't throw the board out and throw all the pieces up in the air.
Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do real quick. I'm gonna read these last little comments and I'm closing out. Here we go. Becky was laughing. Jeff said, "Forget you guys." He said, "I forgot you guys were on YouTube. Great show." Carl said, "White folks in kente cloth is a bunch of posers." Jeff said, "Candace is running this show like a boss." Becky said, "Flint version of Roland Martin Unfiltered." Minister Vic is Dr. Carr. Candace is Eric Orisi. And Michael is Malik, the Lost Republican.
Who's Dr. Carr, man?
They said you are.
Listen. I don't know who Malik is, but I ain't never been a Republican.
You
You don't
Malik.
understand it. Hey, one of
Hey,
them.
I will tell y'all this.
Oh wow!
I will tell y'all this. Mike,
we gotta win.
Wait, Mike, we gotta close out. Mike is my brother. Mike is not a Republican.
No doubt.
If y'all don't hear the way that
you
Mike,
don't know me.
the way that Mike,
don't know me.
the way that Mike defends the Democrats should let y'all know Mike ain't no Republican. But we got to get out of here. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Whose Opinion Is It Anyway, where I spent the first hour not arguing with Mike, and then I got goaded into arguing with Mike. But we want to invite you back next week from 5
No doubt.
from 5 to 6 p.m. where Mike will be there. But we're going to let Vic deal with Mike next week. But thank you for tuning in to Whose Opinion Is It Anyway with Candace.
And Victor.
And our special guest host, Michael Harris.
Michael Harris.
Bye-bye.
The Malik of the group.